Assalamu alaikum. I hope that you all are doing well. The very first thing that you need to know is the question regarding variables and constants, a very simple concept, but still you need to know the right definition and example that you can mention there. So you can see the definition is written here. A variable in a computer program is a named data store that contains a value that may be changed during the execution of program. And this word is going to be the right definition that you have to write down as far as the definition of variable is concerned. ठीक है, named data store that contains a value that can change. On the contrary, if I say constant, a constant in the computer program is a named data store that contains a value that does not change during the execution of a program. So that is what you need to see कि हम किस तरह से variable और किस तरह से constant को declare कर रहे होते हैं. Along with that, you can know the example. Simple examples like count can be the example of variable. You can mention anything as a variable name, but usko, how to declare this, what you need to remember. One thing that you need to see here is you can see that the variables are declared in this manner, that you're going to say declare, then the variable name, colon, and then the data type. So this is what you need to be very much cautious about. Okay, declare is a keyword, then you write down the variable name, colon sign, and then the data type. As far as constants are concerned, the way we talk about the constant ka matlab, the value does not change when the program is being executed. The value remains same, and the best example of constant will be the value of pi. So you can see, you can say simply say constant, and then you can write down the constant value equals to the assignment operator. In some situations, you can see the assignment operator is being used, and in some situations, you can see the equals to sign is being used. So they both are considered as the right option as far as the declarations of constants are concerned. But we normally declare those values as constant that need not change during the execution of the program. Like if I say the best example will be by, and others can be like maybe sales tax, because normally the sales tax percentage is also something that is fixed. So you can mention anything, even in your scenario-based question you have come across that there are some scenarios where certain things are declared as constants, like agar humne dekha temperature low, temperature high, pulse low, pulse high, anything that you think can be kept as a constant can be kept as a constant as well. The value does not change during the program execution. So this is the basic concept that you need to see, because questions are coming from this topic in our paper. Okay, beta? Another very important concept that you need to understand and remember is the use of local and global variables. As the name implies, global variable can be used by any part of a program. Its scope covers the whole program. So the keyword that you need to remember is the scope that is available throughout the whole program, that is not limited to a certain part of the program. Like if your program is composed of maybe 100 lines, so the global variables will be available throughout the whole program, throughout those 100 lines. On the contrary, if I say a local variable can only be used by any part of the program it has been declared in. It is not available throughout the entire program. It will be only available to the area where it is being declared. As you can see, the scope is limited, is restricted in the case of a local variable. And in the case of global variable, the scope is not limited to any certain part of the program. It's available throughout the whole program. Now, let's move on to an example. And this example will make you understand the concept of local and global variables. And you can see, here you can see the declaration of number 1, number 2, and an answer. And these three variables, again, you can see that the same data type is there. That's why we can use one declare to be used for all the three variables to be declared, because their data type is same. Then you can see these three are considered as the global variables, because these three are available throughout the whole program. On the contrary, if I just see this one, declare number 3 answer, and they are declared as integer. So since they are declared inside the procedure, they are treated as the local variables. So if I just say number 1, number 2, they are storing the value that is coming to the procedure. Maybe they are being used for the procedure. So these number 1, number 2 are used as global variables, and they can be accessed throughout the whole program. Whereas on the contrary, number 3 that you have used inside the procedure is a local variable. Very important thing that you need to see. Besides this, a little recap of the procedure. As you can see, procedure name is test. It has no parameters, and it has no arguments, but perfectly possible. But remember, procedures do not return a value. They just do everything inside the whole procedure, and then they move back. How are they being called? Again, recap that we use a keyword call. As you can see, the keyword call is being used here. Call, and then we use the name of the procedure to call the procedure. Since this procedure is not containing any any parameters, that's why it is nothing is written. The brackets are not there, the parentheses are not there. But in case any procedure is containing the parameters, then definitely the use of parameters is compulsory there. And if you remember that we have talked about that procedures or functions return a value, which we already have covered. One important thing that you need to remember is when procedures and functions are defined, the first statement in the definition is the header. This question can come in your theoretical questions. So you need to see that what the header contains. The header contains the name of the procedure or function. As we saw right now, the name of the procedure was test. Any parameters being passed on to the procedure function and the data type. Again, very important thing is, along with the parameters, we mentioned the data type and the data type of the return value for a function in case you are using a function. So in this case, definitely since procedure does not return a value, that's why the data type is not mentioned, definitely. But in case you are working on a function, then definitely the data type of the return value. Please remember, again, the keyword is returns, and then we mentioned the data type in case you are working on a function. A very important concept that you need to remember along with constants and variables is the use of the term array. An array is basically a data structure that is containing several elements of the same data type. This is what you need to remember, that array contains the elements of the same data type. The values remain, the values may be different, but the data type remains same. Like for example, if you are using an array to store names, so all the elements of the array will store names, only nothing else. And they're identified by using a subscript number, which is the index number. So this is what we need to see. For example, if I have 10 elements in my array, then definitely how will I identify the 9th element or maybe the 8th element? So they are identified by using the index or the subscript number. Now you can see that the arrays can be 1D or 2D, one or two-dimensional array. Very simple thing. How you can see if I am using if I'm using one subscript number to access any element of the array, then it is a 1D array. If I'm using two subscript numbers to access an element, then that will be called a 2D array. And normally, in most of the cases, we have the first element of the array as index 0. But in some situations, we can convert this from the normal 0 to the value of 1. Normally, like this is something that we can be allowed to use. And for good programming practice, for just to make our lives easy, we do use the subscript number starting from 1, not the value of 0. How to declare? Again, the way we have talked about the declaration of constants and variables. So same thing is applicable here. You need to see how do we declare. You can see this is my array and the array name is my list. It has 10 elements and the beginning is with the value 0 and the last is the value 9. This value 0 is the first element and we call it the lower bound. This last one is 9, that is called the upper bound. What you need to see in the array declaration, you need to see that the name of the array is being used, the first subscript number, this last subscript number, and the data type. So this is how we declare the array. Of this example, declare mylist colon array brackets. So you need to see that the brackets are the curly brackets. Then 0, since my subscript number is the lower bound is 0, the beginning, that's why I mentioned 0 here, colon sign, and then the last subscript number or the upper bound of, and then the data type. What you can see, just compare with the recent declaration of the variables. We said declare any variable name, like for example, name, colon, and integer. This is what we had done. Or maybe declare count, colon, integer. But the only change that you can see, just for the purpose of remembering, here after colon, we have the keyword array. And then we have to mention the lower bound and the upper bound within the brackets. And then we use the keyword of. And in this manner, you'll be able to remember how do we declare a 1D array. Now moving on to how to store the values, you can simply store the values by using the subscript number, or definitely if you're working in the form of a loop, then definitely if you are working on an array, we need a loop definitely, because array contains more elements than one, and that is why we need a loop here. So you can see my list brackets 4 equals to 27. It means that the fourth location will contain the value 27. Again, a very simple example that you need to see. You can get a 3-mark question or a 2-mark question in this manner. You are asked to input certain values, and there are basically 10 values starting from 0 to 9. Your counter is working. You have a message for the user, and then after input on the array name, do not forget to mention this. Otherwise, your program will not be considered as the right program. Remember, this is the painting that you need to see whenever you're working on an array. the subscript number must be used again with the help of the big brackets. Fine. Along with this 1D array, what else you need to see is the 2D array. And what is a 2D array? That you have to access an element by using two subscript numbers. Now you can see here in this example, we have rows as well as columns. So how will we access, how will we declare? This is what we need to understand and remember. The very first thing is you need to, the name of the array is my table, the same colon array, but the only change is since you have two subscript numbers, that's why both of these subscript numbers have to be mentioned separately by a comma in between, separating the row and the column. Now, as you can see in this example, this is the number of elements, and as far as rows are concerned, is the same as was there earlier. So you can see here, do we have 10 elements in rows, and we have 3 elements in columns. That's why you can see that basically it is 0:9, 0:2, means it tells you that there are 10 rows and 3 columns in your array. In order to access any element of the array, like for example, if I want to access this 48, so where is this 48 existing? It is existing on row number 01 and column number 012. So here I will mention it to be my 1, 2. So in this manner, you can access the elements as well. Again, be very cautious about how to declare the array. And as far as the 2D array is concerned, you will be getting questions of this topic, inshallah, in your scenario-based question. So just remember how to declare, how to use it. This is very important. In order to access, you have to use the 2 values, otherwise your array will not be accessed. And you can see here, one more thing that you need to see, whenever we are working on a 2D array, we have to use a nested loop. It won't work without the nested loop. You need a nested loop here. And how to address the element, the way I said right now, my row was row number 1 and my column was column number 2. So I mentioned 1, 2. Here you can see output my list 2, 1. It means that the 0, 1, 2 in reality, the third row, but it's numbered Z2 is column number 1, which is basically the second column. So in this manner, in reality, the third row's second column की जो value है, that will be displayed to you because you have written it with the help of the output statement, and you are accessing 2 elements here. I hope it's very much clear. After we are done with arrays, what else we need to know is the operation that we perform on the array, that is linear search. And as the name implies, linear search means that you are going to go through each and every element of the array to find out that whether it's matching with your desired criteria, with your desired value. No matter whether excuse me, no matter whether your data is integer value or any value, it can be simply just follow these stages and you will be able to perform this linear search very easily. First thing is that you will be asking the person to enter what needs to be searched. In this example, it's the name that the person wants to search. And then we have taken a variable, a Boolean variable that is storing the value false, because definitely in the beginning, nothing is going to be displayed, nothing is available. So that is why we are going to initialize that found with false. Counter 1, because I'm going to start my search from the first element. And here you can see we are using repeat, and very simple thing. What we are doing is we are just comparing if my entered name, like for example, if I want to search name Ali, and the first element that is existing is Abbas. So what will happen if Ali equals to student name of counter? It means that the first element existing in my array is Abbas. So is Ali and Abbas equal? And you can see that the same now, since Ali and Abbas is not equal, that is why what will happen is it will move on to the else statement and will simply increase the value of counter by 1. And in this case, in this scenario, the value of counter will become 2 because it started with the value of counter value 1. And if will take it down, and you can see until, the use of until, as I had told you earlier, is going to work when the condition is false and stops working when the condition becomes true. Until found means until found equals to true. So the value of found is still false. That is why the value is definitely not meeting the criteria, and the use of or counter greater than class size. And this, what you can see here, we have used this class size as maybe a constant value or maybe a variable value, depending upon your question. But or maybe it can be a simple value. Maybe if I say counter greater than 55, the way I have my 55 students. So that may vary, but this is going to just go on till your entire list has ended or you have found. I mean, that makes sense. If you have found on an indication, there's no need to search further. Now what will happen is, now since both the conditions are false, that's why it will move up and it will now search for the second element. The value of lambda has become 2, so it will now search the second element, that whether the second element is Ali. Assume that it was found in the second location. Ali was matching with Ali. They both are matching. So in this case, the value will be the value being true, that it will move here after then, and the value of found will be true. Now, as soon as it moves here after ndif until found means true. That definitely, if I said right now, until works when the condition is false, and it stops working when the condition becomes true. So since this condition is true, that's why it will stop functioning further, going back to the loop, and it will move here. If found, agar mil jata hai, then output name and found at position number. And you can see right now, since position number was 2, it was found, so it will output the name Ali, found at position 2 in the list. And in this manner, it will end the linear search program. On the contrary, if assume that I was trying to search a name or maybe a value that was non-existing throughout the whole program, so what will happen? It will move on to the whole thing. The whole list is searched, still it is not able to locate. So it will move here. If found, condition false, it will move here. And the display will be output name not found. Name definitely means, assume that I was trying to search Kevin. So Kevin not found. Kevin is not existing in my class. So in this manner, the whole linear search concept is handled very easily, very simply. Just try to understand and you'll be able to understand. Just remember the use of repeat until, because it's not feasible to handle it with for, and not at all the right option. So you can handle it very easily. Other examples can be given to you. As you can see, another example of ice cream is given to you, and still the same concept is the same. But the only change is that you can see the concept is a little bit the same because you are searching, but it's being handled a little differently. Otherwise, the linear search is normally handled with the repeat until thing. Now, the next concept that you need to see is bubble sort. Again, bubble sort is a very simple thing that we have seen in different ways. What is done here is, the concept is very simple. What we have is, we are going to actually work in such a manner that we are going to compare the elements. And for that, we have taken 10 elements. And the value of first is 1 and the value of last is 10. Repeat, swap. Here also, the way we had handled the variable found there, where the variable is swap, Boolean value is a Boolean value, and it is storing the value of false here. Then you can see the use of nested loop whenever we are working on bubble sort. Then we have another for index equals to first to last minus 1. And I'm comparing the temperatures. Agar temperature of index means temperature of 1 is greater than temperature of 2. So I'm comparing the elements on location number 1 and location number 2. Then we are using the concept of temp, and this concept is very important. You will use one temp variable to hold the value of the temperature of the first. Maybe assume that the first value was 50 and the second value was 55. So since 50, for example, if 50 is greater than 40, so what will happen is, assume that the value, the location at location number 1 was 50, and at location number 2 was 45. So what will happen is, the temp value will hold the value of the index, which is 50, and then the swapping will take place, that the elements are going to move from one location to another. The value 45 will move from location number 2 to location number 1, and in this manner, the value will be moved from one location to another. And the temp variable that we have declared earlier will now be moving, the value located at temperature variable will now be stored in the second location. In this manner, you have actually performed swapping for 2 elements, and the value of swap will become true. And then ndif will take it back to this one. Now you can see that the next index will take it back to the for loop, and then the value of index will change from 1 to 2, and then you will carry on functioning till the whole 1 passes over. And again, you can see last minus 1, it means it will work for 9 times inside this loop. So it will keep on happening for all the 9 elements until at least one element has reached its desired location. Once you are through with this loop, the inner loop, then the value of last will be decreased by 1, and you will be getting the value of last. In this scenario, the value of last will become 9. Until not swap, means until the swap value is equals to not swap, or last equals to 1, till you have reached the last element. So now it will move back to this repeat. The swap value will become false once again. And now you will work for index equals to first 2. Since the value of last was 9, so it will work 8 times. So in this manner, you can see, in this manner, it will keep on functioning using the temp variable to hold the value temporarily. And just remember, the sequence is very important. If you have not understood the sequence, if you have made a mistake, then that can lead to a disaster. Otherwise, it's a very simple concept. The use of nested loop, repeat is used outside, the outer loop is with repeat, and the inner loop with for, and then you're handling it. It's very simple. Inshallah, you'll be able to handle. Now, best of luck. My prayers are with you. Allah Hafiz.